Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving sovereign thinkers. This is LTV's Viewers Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful suburban Mangoes of South Florida, and today's date is Thursday, July 26, 2018. Yes, it's nice and warm out here in the early morning of Fort Lauderdale's New River, and I know I'm having little issues with posting one of my links to one of the sites. I think it's called, let me see what it is. One moment here, my friends. Yeah, it's, Glenn 1964 site. Or they call that, what's that one called? Something I forget. I just got too much on my mind. Yeah, FutureNet.club. That's what it is. Well, I'm trying to get posted one of my last episodes on there ASAP. So, I'll figure it out. I'm not even going to beat my head into a wall. Yeah, so it looks like some of the Republicans are planning to do impeachment on Rothstein, for being non-cooperative, which is understandable. There's a big, huge cloak and daggering extravaganza has been going on since Donald Trump became president. Love him or not, you have to expect that. So we're going to be talking about a few things what Trump wants to do for the farmers, and some people may call socialism. The farmers are against it, and all that good stuff. And of course, Catalonia is undeterred right now with the whole Undeterred, what's going on with their sovereignty and independence. And so we're going to talk on a few things. But first off, people should really look at what's really going on. Well, all you folks are being distracted on the whole Trump-Putin extravaganza. It's the greatest distraction for 2018, as far as I'm concerned. Be paying attention to what's going on in your surroundings, and even, whether it's federal, state, or local. It's not the only thing that's really happening. But this one here came out from Freedom Outpost, which I'm going to do a few sites on there. Freedom Outpost says here, Bombshell in trial of FBI sniper who shot at LaVoy Finicum. 8 shots were fired, only 2 shells casing recovered. Oh, really? You're going to try to use that whole Warren report? Let's see what Tim Brown has to say about this. Trial of W. Joseph Asarita, a member of the FBI's Hostage Rescue Team, or HRT, has begun in Portland, Oregon, centered around charges against him that he both lied and obstructed justice concerning the shooting and subsequent death of Robert LaVoy Finicum on January 26, 2016. However, a bombshell was delivered by the prosecution in which they allege that a total of 8 shots were fired, but only 2 casings were recovered. They claim that Aristida took the other 6 shells casing. U.S. District Judge Robert E. Jones has already thrown out 2 of the 5 charges against Aristida. How nice, right? It's usually a typical tradition, but let's see what was going on with that, and on those claims. This is from that one's from the Oregon Live, and 2 of the 5 charges were dropped. So how sweet is that, right? And we'll just do a little. We're just gonna go on right here. It's for the July 16th to be exact. So there's a link for that so you can check it out yourselves. But one of those areas is a big turnoff, to be exact. Yeah, it's all nice and long. You can folks take the link out and do your own reading. I'm just winging it here as usual. That's just me. He's facing 2 counts of making a false statement alleging he lied to his immediate FBI supervisor at the scene, another FBI supervisor several days later, about shooting at Finicum's truck. Well, if you look at the Oregonian videos, it shows that the truck's getting shot at, and he went out with his hands up without a firearm in his hand. But some of these other pathetic websites are saying no, he had a gun. You know what? Stop lying to the people, of course. Asarita also faces 1 count of obstructing justice in his initial interview with Oregon Police State on the night of the shooting. Asarita has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Other charges, it should also be noted that he walked out a free man without posting bail. How exceptional, right? a courtesy not afforded to those arrested on January 26, 2016. They spent nearly 2 years in prison and had a prosecution that violated their rights and broke the law doing so. Sherry Duvall reports the jury of 9 men and 3 women were seated on Tuesday with opening statements this morning on Wednesday, July 25th. The prosecution put forth strong arguments against Astarita, with the defense following up grasping at straws in their strategy to show some reasonable doubt for their client. To begin with, according to the prosecutor, there were 8 shots fired, with only 2 shell casings being recovered. The prosecution suggests that Astarita collected the missing 6 casings. Included in the defense opening statements were that their client could have not fired at the vehicle, but he is one of the finest shooters in the world and therefore would not have missed his target. They contended that this should prove his innocence. They did not address the fact that he may very well have hit his mark exactly if he was attempting to provoke the Oregon State Patrol into shooting at the truck. The defense has also attempted to cast doubts on the trajectory and analysis for varying reasons, including that the snow may have melted enough to change the position of the truck, thereby invalidating all of the analysis. Additionally, the defense team talked about the federal agents picking up the shell casings, claiming that these men are trained to pick up all their equipment. They said that the agents could actually have been picking up live rounds from the ground, as they were concerned about militia members possibly coming to the scene. This is apparently a new protocol, as I've never heard of the regulations being to clean up the crime scene before the investigation has concluded or even begun. Do things backwards, all hail to Bizarro. Another bombshell statement was made that an agent from the first stop called ahead to the agent at the second stop at Finicum sped away in the truck. The first agent made remarks that Finicum refused to stop and therefore they would have to shoot him. These statements go to the justification defense. The law is clear that they can only be justified in firing their weapons for self-defense or defense of others. This explanation is another desperate attempt by the defense. They're trying to give you lip service, so what you do, you give them a penile microphone because they're mumbling. While we are waiting to see how the trial attorneys deal with the issue of the FBI ordering the OSP not to turn body cameras on. Additionally, Finicum's truck will be taken to the courthouse for review by the jury. Photos can be seen of the vehicle at Oregon Live. Finicum's widow, Jeanette, said she will attend the trial, which is expected to take 3 to 4 weeks. She has also filed a wrongful death suit against the FBI and the Oregon State Police. Though the Oregon State Police were apparently responsible for actually shooting Finicum to death, the FBI claimed to investigate several other agents concerning failing to report. They fired shots at Finicum and his vehicle. They apparently disposed of the bullet's casing as well. Our family is praying that justice will be applied fairly and truthfully, and that the jury will see and hear all the facts in the case. It is our hope that if this agent committed these crimes, that he would be treated no differently than the rest of us, Mrs. Finicum said Monday. Our prayer is that this will not happen again to another family. The entire event was shady. Those traveling were headed to a neighboring county to speak with the sheriff there. They could have been apprehended many times without a roadblock and without shots being fired. Even the FBI didn't give the whole truth at the press conference, according to Bundy's attorney. It's the same old song and dance. They could have apprehended David Koresh so many times, but they didn't. Okay, so there's like the whole scenario, feds know best. And it was so sad because you got the Oregon State Police are bellying up as well. What does Governor Kate Brown has to say? Yeah, probably polishing apples for the system themselves, you know. Oregon, the testing ground state, it should be called. Don't get me wrong, there's awesome people live in that area as well. So it just really gets my goat when you have this federal government knows best. And it was interesting because everyone goes up in arms, which will happen up in Clearwater, which is really disturbing. How come not do the same thing with these folks? So remember, it doesn't matter what you look like. Government entities they do things and believe they can get away with it. It's been happening so many times, and I'm not going to go around bashing everyone in the FBI and the Oregon State Police or the police as a whole. Of course, you got your good folks and you got your rogue elements. And they're being trained, a lot of them being programmed to be rogue troopers, stormtroopers. And I say that, lightly. I'm not going to go around calling them Gestapos or anything like that, but very tyrannical indeed. So one of those things really gets me is when I even hear like the propaganda media trying to say they're the bad guys, Finicum the bad guy, he's a terrorist and all that, in multiple ways. But I just hope and pray this will come to light and the jury have that conscience of saying, based on all the merits and the facts, that hey, this has to stop. It's completely unacceptable because their families can be next. Any of our family members and people we care for can be the next target. It's been going on over and over again. And they believe they got immunity. They're not above everybody. And that's the damn truth. So I'm going to hit a couple, now I'm going to just checking a couple things here. Come from Outpost on politics as usual here. It says Trump announces he's giving $12 billion of your money to farmers. Can we say road to socialism, according to my report? But I want to start here with Tim Brown. It came out yesterday, right? Yeah. The 24th. It says here, I'm pretty sure I remember President Trump saying he was going to cut spending and reduce the debt. Now nearly $3 trillion more in debt later, he's not only caved in to signing unconstitutional omnibus bill, but he's now ready to put more debt on the backs of Americans by redistributing their wealth to American farmers in a $12 billion plus stimulus package, aka welfare. The economy is supposed to be booming, right? Trump is in the midst of a trade war with China, and he's right when he talks about tariffs and how Americans' goods are taxed at a higher rate than those items we import from other countries. However, that does not give either him nor Congress the right or just give American money to anyone as a charity, including farmers. In fact, there's no authority for doing so in our Constitution. But listen to the appeal he and Congress redistributed wealth. There's a video for that, and it says here from ABC News, Trump says, "This is time for tariffs. The country is doing better than it has ever done before economically. It's all working out. Just remember, when you are seeing and what you're reading is what's happening. This country is doing better than ever done before economically. It's all working out," Trump said. Just remember what you're seeing and what you're reading is not what's happening. Right, it's not happening that you're unconstitutionally going to bail out farmers after government regulates them and taxes them to death in order to promote GMO and hormone-laced food for profit. The death tax, one of the most immoral of taxes that has been a death knell to many farming families simply because they can't afford taxes and end up having to sell big companies that then good and completely change the outfit, providing less quality of the food to the population. CNBC reports that several senators are upset with the bailout. Republican senators Tuesday condemned the Trump administration's $12 billion bailout for farmers hit by crippling risks of their goods. Senator Ben Sasse, Republican from Nebraska, came out swinging against the newly proposed aid package, describing this pair of gold crutches to support the farmers hobbled by President Donald Trump, Trump's own trade policy. The trade war is cutting the legs out from under the farmers, and the White House's plan is to spend $12 billion on gold crutches. Sasse, a frequent Trump critic, said in a statement, "For American farmers don't want to be paid to lose. They want to win by feeding the world. This administration's tariffs and bailouts aren't going to make America great again. They're just going to make it 1929 again," he added. Agricultural Secretary Sonny Perdue unveiled the plan Tuesday, calling it a short-term fix intended to provide time to work on a long-term trade deal. The announcement came after Trump took a Twitter wrote, "Tariffs are the greatest." The president, ahead of the trade talks with the European Union representatives, argued that the levies would force other countries to come to the table. And of course, as he says it here, Like it says here, either the country was treated with the United States unfairly on trade negotiations, the fair deal, or it gets hit with tariffs. It's as simple as that. Everybody's talking. Remember, we are the piggy banks that's being robbed. All will be great. Of course, you got a bunch of people praising him and so forth. However, I'll continue on here. Senators Bob Corker, Republican from Tennessee, and Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, both are against the region's racial wealth measure. Corker called on the Trump administration to end the incoherent terrorist policy. In a statement, he said the administration was offering welfare to farmers to solve a problem they themselves created. He went on to add that stimulus was evidence that the administration finally seemed to understand that the Trump-Pence tariffs are hurting the American people. Shali Kapoor says here, Senator Bob Corker criticizes Trump's farm aid proposal. You have a terrible policy that sends farmers to the poorhouse, and then you put them on welfare, and we borrow money from other countries. It's hard to believe that there isn't an outright revolt right now in Congress. Yeah? You're gonna have a lot of folks gonna be questioning that. Don't worry. This is becoming more and more like Soviet-type economy here, Senator Johnson said. Pennsylvania, the Republican Senator Pat Toomey said the administration clobbers farmers with an unnecessary trade war that attempts to assuage them with taxpayer handouts. This bill compounds bad policy with more bad policy. There is no doubt that the situation needed to be addressed, but when you have to rob Peter to pay Paul, and that's what is according here, you know that you have a really bad solution. While I'm not necessarily against tariffs, they do need to be fair for sure, but there's a need to be wisdom in sorting this out. And for all indications, unconstitutional stimulus only demonstrates that the administration doesn't know what is lawful concerning the matter, nor what will work to fix the problem. And this is why you're going to always have to see these areas. It's like, damn you do, you damn you don't. But everything's got to be methodical. And that's why I have to always got to look at these places, the bigger picture. And let's just see what the gentleman from Mize, Joe Bishop, this was released on Mises Institute, Mises.org. And it says here, Trump's road to socialism. Today, Trump's administration is announcing, this happened on the 24th, by the way. Today, the Trump administration is announcing a $12 billion bailout for farmers impacted by the response from the Trump administration's tariffs as the political reports. The administration plan is expected to use two commodity support programs in the Farm Bill, as well as the Agriculture Department broad authority to stabilize the agricultural economy during the times of turmoil by buying up excess supplies. The plan is also expected to focus on providing aid to the dairy sector, in particular. One source of the sources said the plan has been in the works for months. It seeks to ensure that the U.S. farmers and ranchers, a key constituency for President Donald Trump and Republicans, don't bear the brunt of escalating fair trade fight with China, the European Union, and other major economies as the administration pursues an aggressive course to rebalance America's trade relationships. Trump's move to slap tariffs on imports from some of America's largest foreign buyers have prompted retaliation against U.S. farm goods like pork, beef, soybean, sorghum, and a range of fruits. The administration trade plan is also a bid to shore up support among a slice of the rural electorate ahead of the midterm elections. And in spite of the president's claim that tariffs are the greatest trade wars are easy to win, the economic backlash was easy to foresee. In fact, as a political success, Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have brought democratic socialism into the mainstream of the Democratic Party. Trump's economic nationalism threatens to pave the road to the same destination. After all, Trump's tariffs are not only a new tax for Americans, but a policy of differently picking winners and losers in the economy. The interests of steel workers, for example, are being placed above the interests of consumers and farmers. This leads to the government using tax dollars to prop up farmers. Of course, this spending that tax-paying consumers are hit yet again with their tax dollars being used for this new welfare program. The government interventionism doesn't simply stop there. The natural result of these new government barriers is for business to seek ways around them. such as Harley's decision to move some of manufacturing to Europe. This, of course, sparked backlash from President Trump, threatening further retaliation for such a move. As we've seen time and time again, the more Trump digs into his support for protectionism, the more he will seek to interfere with the actions of the individual companies. The omnipotent government, Ludwig von Mises, wrote, present day's protectionism is a necessary corollary of the domestic policy of government interference with business. The opposite is also true. The domestic policy of government interference with business is necessarily corollary of present-day protectionism. The result is an economy that increasingly replaces the market with state control. That's precisely why Mises wrote extensively about how escalating economic intervention led to socialism, as he wrote in Human Action. All varieties of interference with the market phenomenon not only fail to achieve the ends aimed by their authors and supporters, but bring about a state of affairs which, from the point of view of their authors and advocates' valuations, is less desirable than the previous state of affairs, which they were designed to alter. If one wants to correct the manifest of unstableness and preposterousness by supplementing the first act of intervention with more and more such acts, one must go farther and farther until the market economy has been entirely destroyed and socialism has been substituted for it. Of course, the defenders of the president will argue that Trump's tariffs are simply mean as a negotiating ploy designed to give America better trade deals. The future is impossible to predict. Perhaps that will end the result. Memes about 4D chess, however, are a little help to those hurt by Trump's tariff policies, and increasingly the Trump administration has signaled its willingness to embrace a prolonged trade war. Such policies are, in the long run, as great as the great threat to the American economy than the poised by the Sanderistas. Yeah, so nice little great point there by Bishop. So you have to, one thing people gotta look at. Everything's gotta be done methodically. No loudmouth rhetoric or anything like that. That's the problem. They always wanted to shoot their mouths off and have the magic lamp theory. It doesn't work. You know, right now the trade wars and all that, and even with the free trade, how it didn't really benefit everybody. It's but in the long run, it really affected us. So best thing to do, in my view, is analyze everything that's on the table, then work your way on doing these little steps, because that's how they did it with the trade wars, with the free trade, NAFTA, GATT, the World Trade Organization, all that. It's all done by steps. You can't just do one drastic move. Everything's got to be done in the same pattern, on countering it. It's just past history. It's political practice, so it's all done methodically. You have to do things a lot more on baby steps. So that's why, with all due respect to President Trump, doing this $12 billion bailout plan for farmers isn't really that a good idea, to be very frank. And even a lot of farmers agreed on here, which came out I think today, about farmers. Trump, we don't want handouts. We want a quick return to free trade. And came out yesterday, the 25th, by Tim Brown again. But it looks like some farmers actually understand that government handouts have strings attached to them, and this latest unconstitutional action by President Trump gives $12 billion to farmers, money we don't have, by the way, and that we will borrow and pay interest on, is not something that we are looking to engage in. Corner one report of Missouri farmer thanked Trump for thinking for them, but he wants a quick return to free trade. Missouri corn and soybean farmer Neil Bredelheft, said, "We as farmers don't want handouts. Bredelheft says that this is a sentiment across much of the Midwest." Bloomberg reports, interview after interview, farmers deliver essentially Same response to President Donald Trump's pledge yesterday to provide $12 billion in assistance. It's nice to know you're thinking about us, Mr. President, but we want a quick return of free trade. It's better to get our income from the marketplace than from the government, Brittelhoff said. This is a clear-cut position from the agricultural sector reveals is part why U.S. lawmakers, including many in Trump's own party, such as Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse and Tennessee Senator Bob Corker, who were so forcefully pushing back against the proposal on Tuesday. The planned aid is a mix of direct payments to farmers, purchases of agricultural commodities for food aid programs, and stepped-up promotion to export markets. The package has offended the sensibilities of many farmers who support both Trump and a party that historically champions small government and free trade, even if farmers had already had a regular receipt of government aid, including an estimated $9.2 billion in payments this year alone. And it shows you the sources. Eating are down on the farm. Net farm income seen at a 12-year low. And there's a lot of droughts were happening too at the same time. But sometimes these big bogus trades and tariffs can hurt them as well. Iowa fourth-generation cornerstone beef farmer Stan Nelson said, "We want access to markets. We don't want government payments. We do appreciate President Trump recognizing the concern out in the country." Dave Struthers, a farmer who grows corn and soybeans and raises about 6,000 hogs per year in Iowa, said, "We would prefer no trade aid, no aid. We like to see things figured out of those in these trade issues." Struthers compared the government unconstitutional handout to Band-Aid that slows bleeding. It doesn't heal the wound. As a temporary fix, he said, that's all any government influx money would be. It's better than nothing. I question whether it is better than nothing. It continues to drive us further in debt and places that debt on back of the American people today and for generations to come. While Tyler Jordan points out, we assume this means farmers, or at least Neil and whoever else Bloomberg is talking about, will promptly refuse the proportion of the $20 billion per year in federal agricultural subsidies. And that's what it says here. With the United States Farm Subsidy information, 50% of the farm subsidies went to 14.6% of counties. Miami-Dade County is one of them. So, and from the USDA and the Freedom of Information Act request, the planned assistance will be a mix of direct payments to farmers, purchases of various commodities for food aid programs, and a step-up promotion of new export markets. While Trump's economy advisor Larry Kudlow said that this is a short-term solution and that the administration will not be making a habit of aid programs, one has to question that given the fact that tons of money was approved by President Trump in the recent omnibus bill, and a lot of it went to foreign countries. What we've put on board is what I think is a temporary assistance measure, and I don't think it's going to get near to $12 billion, Kudlow said. Nobody's really thrilled about this. We're just trying to protect American agriculture for some of the unfair trading practices. No one is thrilled with subsidies. I get that. Kudlow said, on the other hand, we need a backstop for our patriotic farmers who have been hurt, that help them by giving them a free market without government subsidies and all the strings that are tied to that. In fact, do that for every industry and individual. Get rid of the death tax, estate tax, and other things that suck the life out of Americans, especially farming families. If you think I get upset over this, you're right. It's not that I don't care about farmers. I do. I support local farmers where I am because they provide the very best food. However, we are talking about the Constitution, and was demonstrated on Tuesday when I wrote about Trump's farmer bailout. Even professed conservatives like their little slice of socialism. Just read the comments and what's worse as justifying the unlawful redistribution of wealth due to Barack Hussein Obama's Sotero's so Barack's unconstitutional actions. It gets worse which is null and void anyway. It gets worse when I did a short commentary on Facebook this morning. I got people in there are happy to support this kind of redistribution of wealth despite the fact that's unconstitutional. This is why we are in the trouble we are in. We simply will not demand that the federal government stop trying to play mommy and daddy to everyone and perform the very limited tasks that they were established to perform. That's the real problem in all of this. Would there be some hurt if they follow that? Probably. That will begin a road to recovery. The more we kick the can down the road and prop up a failing system with more unlawful actions, the harder the cash will be that is coming our way, and it is coming. It originally was published by Sons of Liberty Media. So you have to look at that too. Government dependency, these little aids and bailouts, doesn't work. It's not going to be that effective, and we don't know the fine print. It's like the time when people go, oh yeah, I get this thing for free, and it happened a few years later, like from a natural disaster, they get a call, oh yeah, you owe us $3,000, this and that, and everyone breaks out, oh, you all like freak out. There's one thing you gotta look at. You don't try not to rely on the government for everything. You can't rely on the government. It's absurd. Yes, these trades are bogus and unconstitutional. These trade agreements, NAFTA, GATT, World Trade Organization, we should get out of all that garbage. We need to get out of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Just to give you an example. What's going on with the farmers is going to affect all of us. What's going to happen? We're going to have Bear AG, No Best, which is Bear Santo or Monsanto. Just to give you guys an example. Is we going to rely on them to provide us food? Shoot. I would say this. I give the farmers homage for what they're doing because they want to benefit, and I don't blame them one bit when they tell Donald Trump, "We don't want your money." Right? And that's good because they don't want to be a number. They're human beings. Their families are human beings. So President Trump, recant it. To all the people in Congress, shoot it down in good faith. All right. We're going to talk a little thing about, I haven't heard anything about Catalonia lately. I know they wanted independence from the Spanish Parliament, from Madrid. And it looks like it's a whole song and dance. They're all being witch hunted as usual. Saying they're terrorists and all that. Well, Catalonia quest for independence is undeterred. This is an interview with Consortium News. An independence leader, member of the Spanish Parliament, tells Attilo Moro that Catalonians are not finished seeking separation from Madrid. And it says here, freedom for political reasons, real banners hanging on hundreds of balconies from Placa Catalonia to the La Ramblas, and from the Villa de Garcia to the Gothic Quarter. They were calling for freedom for many grassroots activists demanding independence from Spain, who were arrested for the freedom of Charles Piedmont, the ex-president of General Matías de Catalunya, who was arrested in March by German authorities. German judge rejected Spain's extradition request. On July, he would face rebellion and sedition charges if he returned to Spain. Piedmont had escaped to Belgium the day after the independence referendum on October 1st, 2017, with Spanish police on his heels. Madrid Secret Service agents then hid a GPS tracker on the car when he was traveling in from Helsinki, where he had attended the conference, back to Brussels. He's now in Hamburg under surveillance by German police. European Union, right? Absolutely. The 8 ministers of the dissolved Catalonian government, Vice President John Carras, Joseph Rull, Dolores Bassa, Mary Barras, Joaquim Forn, Charles Moon, Jordi Turó, Romeva are being held in the Madrid prison under accusation of having threatened the integrity of Spain. 7 independent leaders and intellectuals escaped to Scotland and Holland to avoid arrest. No weapons of violence were used when these leaders organized an overwhelmingly successful independence referendum, which Madrid argued violated the Spanish Constitution. The arrests were made to prevent the referendum from being implemented. Earlier this month, at the headquarters of the Partit Democrata, one of the 2 big independence Catalan parties, I met Sergei Miquel, an independent leader and a member of the National Parliament. My generation has never seen these kinds of measures being taken. We thought they belonged to the past, to the Franco era, he told me. But all of this is happening instead today in Spain. In Europe, democratically elected MPs and governors being arrested and detained for political reasons. The sentence will come in autumn. They risk up to 30 years in prison. I asked Miquel whether the new Spanish minority government of the Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez will be more willing to compromise than the former Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy. In 2 years, there will be fresh elections in Spain, and none of the political parties will even talk to us. In order not to lose the Spanish voters who are against us, Miquel said, our leaders may even receive an exemplar punishment. Much will depend on Europe. The EU should stop turning a blind eye to this flagrant violation of democracy and human rights happening in its territory. On July 9th, Sanchez and Quim Torra, Catalonia's premier, who took over from the Piedmont, met in Madrid trying to revive dialogue. They agreed to restart meetings after 7 years between Spanish and Catalonian ministers, and they discussed the possibility of jointly commemorating the terrorist attacks in Barcelona last August, but Sanchez was adamantly against Catalonia holding a new independence referendum. I asked Miquel what can be done in the meantime for the Catalonian prisoners. Unfortunately, not much, he said. Since last March, the families of the prisoners have been given just 1 day's travel to see their relatives for 45 minutes in the Madrid prison. We asked, and humanitarian organizations should join us, that they at least be transferred to a prison in Barcelona. Of course, we hope for an amnesty since no serious crimes have been committed. We hope that the new government after the next election will be formed by the Socialist Party and the political groups least hostile to us, Podemos. Miguel did not rule out the Catalonian government organizing a new referendum on independence despite the arrest and the violent crackdown against the voters for the first time. We can suffer losses and drawbacks, but our path is set, he said. Miquel said, seeking even more autonomy for Madrid, at least in the short term, would be difficult. We would be ready, he said, but the Spanish government will not concede this. On the contrary, they are also slowly eroding the little autonomy we managed to achieve over the past 50 years. The Basques today are much more autonomous than us. We want our right to self-determination to be recognized in Spain and Europe. We know that the process will be long and complex. We will have to confront other difficulties, arrests, and rights violations. But we know that the end of our path, independence, awaits. I'll say this. Let it be, man. Let Catalonia be their own nation. And if Spain wants to create an honorable relationship with them, let them do it. You're going to have differences, but you know what? It's not in Catalonia's best interest what's going on in Spain. The reason why they separate because they're being taxed to crap. They're being highly taxed to take care of the rest of the nation. That's pretty damn absurd. So, it's one of the reasons why it has to end and despise and take Franco's legacy to oblivion. Plain and simple. I support secession. I was very happy about when I found out that the sovereign state of Good Hope separated from South Africa. I know that government is on a tirade because we know they love the witch hunt and they're lying to all the people in that country. Well, that's why I give them the thumbs up. What they've done, that Cape region, that Cape province or jurisdiction is now their own nation. That is why you don't hope for the best for the brothers and sisters in Catalonia. Keep the movement going. Keep it real. Do it peacefully. Stand on your principles. All right, one more here. It's interesting. It just came out, I guess today. Yeah, early yesterday. And by Bob Livingston, man, still doing it since 1969. Wow. You gotta give him a lot of credit for what he's doing. It says here, democratic socialism There's nothing new under the sun. And there's a little quote here. That which has been is that which will be, and that which has been done is that which will be done. So there is nothing new under the sun. If there's anything of which one might say, see, this isn't new, already has existed for ages, for which were before us. There is no remembrance of earlier things, and also the later things which will occur. There will be for them no remembrance among those who will come later still. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verses 9 through 11. The political less enthusiastic embrasures of what was being touted as a new brand of socialism is hardly surprising to sober people. For more than 100 years, America has been victimized by the state-sponsored socialist, altruistic, collectivist social and educational system. Has produced a popular mentality of diminishing the individual independent thinker to a collectivist mind mentality, which can be historically swayed, directed, and channeled its own best interest. What does this mean? It means that the state mind is developed and has been nurtured that freely gives oneself and one's production to the state. That means you're a number, you're a bend-over Bob or bend-over Barbie. Each individual, in order to be considered a good citizen of the state, must contribute most of his means and be grateful for the service in the state's return, whether they are returned or useful or not. Imagine that movie Metropolis, in the very beginning of them walking in, I got a job, and they walking back out in the same uniforms and they had their heads down, all marching in solidarity. One shift comes in, other shift comes out. I'll continue on here. Gradualism is the key to government power. Anything can be accomplished over a long period of time. Absolute tyranny can be totally replaced human liberty if done with a process of gradualism. It is sometimes described as 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. However, work for the power brokers over a long enough time frame people. Except, huh? Oh, hold on there. I'm checking it out. I'll be right back. The moon?
Yeah, the biggest one in the year.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Oh yeah, I forgot about that big moon supposed to be happening tonight. So, interesting indeed. But I'll see it after the show is done. All right, I'm gonna continue on here. I like this guy was cool about it. So, well, let's see here. Let me see where I'm at. Okay, the political establishment has been hard at work sowing seeds of discontent and separating the masses into races and classes and social groups into a divide and conquer strategy while stealing their wealth through crony capitalism, fascism. All right, so all you folks out there think capitalism kills, you better start doing your homework. Not an open free market, not what Adam Smith supports, right? Progressive taxation, inflation, and phony altruism. And over time, each individual has come to depend on more and more upon the state to provide his sustenance, succor, in order to comfort, to create him in a sense of equality with those that has been conceived may have something he doesn't. So now the harvest is ripe. Discontent with the system has reached a pitch, and many people, millennials, those born between 1982 to 2004, especially, are seeking something new. They embrace the promise of something for nothing inherited in democratic socialism based on their lifetime of indoctrination in public, non-education, government re-education camps in which they've been pampered and taught a pursuit of history, state of state worship that glosses over millions of deaths and massive human misery because of democracy and socialism. Senator Bernie Sanders made socialism popular and acceptable again as a political philosophy. He called his brand of socialism social democracy. And now the Democrats have a new and rising star named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They call her the future of the Democrat Party. She calls her brand of socialism Democrat socialism, and she's a new darling of the left. But there's nothing new about it. Whatever you call social democracy or democratic socialism is merely an effort at whitewashing a blood-stained wall. The morality of socialism is easily summed up in a few words: envy and sacrifice based on a phony and coerced sense of altruism. Socialist not only envies and wants a portion of the wealth of others, he desires to see wealth of others lowered to the level of his own. The socialist wants to use a sense of altruism, couched in the terms like fairness, equality, and fair share, to coerce those who have into willingly giving a portion of their wealth to others. That following the socialist desires that the power and organized violence of the state be used to create a level of conformity and reduce everyone to the same level, even if it's the level of poverty and privation. Socialism is also a philosophy of racism, weakness, ineptitude, and collectivism, and that to assume one gain what he has by the way of special privilege not afforded to those are a different race or creed or social standing, and that one cannot contain a thing or advance economically without the assistance of the government or the collective. Manipulate minorities all being all those divided up the establishment in various races, classes, social groups, pitted against one another, who are naturally drawn to socialism. It's a basic political strategy to justify government politics and plunder. Samuel Goldman, an assistant professor of political science at George Washington University, describes democratic socialism as achieving collective control of the economy. Andrea Markovitz, a professor of political science at the University of Michigan, calls democratic socialism an attempt to create a property-free socialist society. So we see that democratic socialism is a disguised system of stealing wealth and production of the producers of wealth and spurious laws on the legitimacy of the vote. Stealing or taking from producers and transferring it to non-producers is very sophisticated and concealed class warfare. Democratic socialism is anathema to human liberty and has concealed form of slavery. Democracy equals socialism equals communism equals fascism. They're all totalitarian forms of collectivism, demanding a self-sacrifice and total allegiance to the state, and all are anathema to life, liberty, and property. However, it is naive and wholly inaccurate to ascribe this philosophy only to Democrats. Almost all politicians, Democrats and Republican, embrace socialism in many forms. Always remember, government has nothing good or nice to give you. The government is in the business of shrinking freedom and wealth, not expanding it. See, it's like the same example of saying government is the enemies of freedom, right? The enemies of liberty, to be exact. Any political system built on self-sacrifice and all are as an illusion can only maintain authority at your expense. Distorted reality is any ploy that seeks to persuade you to share what you have with non-producers or to seek guidance from external authority. Politics is such an ingrained system that realizes that politics is a system of reliance on external authority that perpetuates itself on illusions and distortions. Relying on the external authority feels safe because it is the status quo. It feels like freedom because we have endured mass brainwashing telling us slavery is freedom and democracy. But freedom and happiness are only restored through self-reliance and acting on our own judgment, self-sufficiency, and self-produced ultimate happiness and human liberty. Bam! Now that's how you address it. You give it to both members of the party. Use the same rhetoric in different packages. Because give them this, they'll be scratched. You don't know what to say. So this is why I don't support these little celebrity-style candidates by any means. It was interesting, too, about Miss Alexandria is... They say only 30% of the people actually voted in her district. So it's not really that impressive in good faith. She's just an example. Louis Rouge Young ran for mayor. A lot of agree on the majority didn't even vote in his elections as well. The election he ran as mayor. So, truth of the matter is, my friends, same thing, different package. That's all it is. Same crap, different name. Nothing new at all. So that's why you gotta look at everything a lot further. Do your homework. Think for yourselves. Former capitalism we see now, Adam Smith, is rolling in his grave because they're using that particular name in vain. Yes, I do believe people have the right to make a living, but the whole thing is you have to earn it. Have your merits. Shouldn't be handed to you. Yes. I'm in the union too, I can say that. Be qualified in what you do. And just pick up some bonehead on the street that never done this industry and give them the top dollar. It doesn't work like that. So, I have to say it. Nothing new at all. And Bob Livingston, I love his work. So, check it out. All right, my friends, that is it. I want to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or if you're saying something that's interesting, you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. And you can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Breaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Minds.com, FutureNet.club, Patreon.com/Local3, Gab, yours.org, OneWay.com, or BuyAList.co. In addition, you can email me at lookup3@gmail.com, or to encrypted ones, especially with the Proton Mail account. I have one as well. LookAtLuckNumber03@ProtonMail.com. Alright, my friends, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.